When flames swept through the Blue Mountains west of Sydney during last year's Summer of Fire, the region was left devastated.
Because of where we are here, we can see the fire coming.
Melina Schindler is still waiting for life to return to normal. The landscape surrounding her events venue with the iconic Pulpit Rock lookout in Blackheath is beginning to recover, but still bears the scars.
I get asked all the time, is Pulpit Rock open? And it's not. It was damaged very, very badly. Everything was completely burnt out, so it's quite dangerous to be on the trail.
The fire front at Blackheath in particular reached very close behind houses, and we just saw today literally it was metres between rows of houses in what we'd regard as suburbia going up.
More than a year after the fires, communities like Blackheath are still suffering.
I see a lot of the local businesses definitely suffering, and definitely not the amount of tourists that we have had in the past. It's very quiet.
And a day has not passed in our government where those issues have not been getting the attention that they deserve.
In May 2020, the federal government announced a $448 million grant scheme called the Local Economic Recovery Fund.
It was about trying to revitalise the economies which were badly affected by last year's bushfires.
The New South Wales Government approved 72 projects worth $177 million in November 2020. From this amount, more than $100 million was approved for 22 fast-track projects without an open application process. And $72 million was awarded through an industry recovery fund to 50 projects targeting industries like forestry and dairy. The Blue Mountains Council put forward an application for several projects, including to upgrade Pulpit Rock. It didn't receive a cent.
Personally, I was a little shocked that the Blue Mountains received zero of the funding. I'm disappointed. I feel that we're being forgotten here.
George Vagotis is the president of the Blackheath Chamber of Commerce, and hears stories like Melina's all the time. He believes the region should have been a priority for government grant spending.
There's been a lot of talk. Initially, we were visited by a lot of politicians so they could investigate the impacts. We've yet to really see any real investment.
Large parts of New South Wales were damaged in the fires, but the political distribution of those grants has also come under scrutiny. Many of the projects identified by the New South Wales Government were located in state Liberal or National-based seats, with just $2.5 million going to Labor seats.
When you look at the list of local government areas that were impacted and those electorates that are tied to it, and off the RFS data, 90% of buildings damaged were destroyed in coalition seats. So I can't hide from that.
The New South Wales Government has defended its allocation of the first round of funding, saying areas such as the Blue Mountains have been compensated through other schemes. It's also invited applications for another $250 million round of grants.
It doesn't mean the Blue Mountains aren't deserving. That's why this round is designed for areas like the Blue Mountain.
But documents released to New South Wales Greens MP David Shoebridge reveal the Blue Mountains was always considered a priority area for funding.
We now know that the Blue Mountains in particular was always one of the high priority regions. It was always up there, it meant to be, for the first tranche of funding. We're left with the very uncomfortable conclusion that this was politics that made these decisions.
The $448 million Local Economic Recovery Fund was established by the federal government. Part of the funding came from the Commonwealth, and part of it came from state governments like New South Wales. The states are asked to identify projects that fit the criteria for the Recovery Fund. They then go to Andrew Colvin, the head of the Federal Bushfire Recovery Agency, who signs off on them.
It would be very hard for that agency to reject a grant proposed by the New South Wales Cabinet.
The documents do show the New South Wales Government sought even more projects in their original submission, costing an extra $100 million. The National Bushfire Recovery Agency told 730 it rejected 10 fast-track projects for a range of reasons.
Some of the projects were not in eligible local government areas. Some we considered were just core business of the state government and not appropriate for use of co-funding, particularly bushfire funding, and others just didn't meet the broad range of criteria.
Were any of those projects that were rejected in the Blue Mountains region?
No, we don't believe so.
Right.
I've really never seen such an extraordinary cavalier approach to public money. How is it that the state government is putting forward this raft of projects that didn't even get to first base? These are questions that the state government needs to answer.
The people of Blackheath are still waiting for answers, and the funding, they argue, is still needed.
The longer they leave it, the bigger the job is to repair some of these areas. In our lifetime, we won't see these areas regenerate if there isn't some intervention in our part.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.